So The Mandalorian Season 3 just finished, and I have to say that it was a bit disappointing. Now let me just preface this by saying that this season and show is not bad in any way, it just wasn't as good as the other seasons. Season 3 of The Mandalorian has 8 episodes, with the last 4 being great, and the first 4 being pretty much a snooze fest. The first half, or the first 4 episodes, was a bunch of side quests strung together and was called a story. I swear I heard someone asking me to shop their wares while watching. The reason it felt like this was because the show felt like it lacked direction. This also resulted in a lot of pacing problems in the first 4 episodes, which really did kind of ruin the fun, as it was a bit boring to sit through, and it really didn't make me want to come back and watch the show again, or watch the next episode when it released the next week. It's like playing Slender Man and having to get all 8 pages, but the first 4 pages that you have to get all have Slender Man sleeping, so he's not even attacking you. Another thing that probably contributed to the pacing issues of the show was the fact that each episode was just straight up shorter, so instead of having 50-minute episodes, they were typically around the 30 to 40-minute range, which is fine because I love short shows. I mean, Cyberpunk Edge Runners is one of my favorite shows of recent time, and that thing is only 10 episodes long and 20 minutes each episode. You are not going to get much time out of that. That's 3 hours, but it is a fantastic piece of art. With Mandalorian, it did suffer from these pacing issues, and it tries to fit so much in those 4 episodes to set them up for later for the last 4 episodes, and it's fine because it does redeem itself, but those first 4 episodes are a drag to sit through. I did not want to come back. What I did end up coming back for, though, was the CGI. As compared to the shit Marvel puts out, this is pretty good. No floating heads, no twerking green woman. It's Star Wars through and through, and it keeps its charm in its visuals and does a really good job displaying those visuals to the audience in a way that is coherent, and overall just it contributes to the show and does make it more enjoyable to watch. They did a good job with the CGI. I have little to no complaints for a TV show. This is pretty good. It's not CW's Flash, I can tell you that for sure. Now let's compare the first half of the season to another show about a masked man saving a young child, the Halo show. The Halo show was so bad that I really wanted to see how much worse it could get. I had that instinctual urge to find out if Master Cheeks ended up getting even more cheeks than he already did in the show. Spoiler alert, he didn't. But Mandalorian made me honestly forget that the show was releasing due to its mediocrity. And that was only until the second half of the show that was actually interesting and that I really wanted to go back to it. And so the second half of the season came around, and this is where the show finally got to the 3rd tier boost in Mario Kart and let go of the drift button, because man, were we actually going somewhere and doing something, because we had direction and a goal, and that was the finish line. And even without the blue shell, Mandalorian did cross that finish line because it did it really well and ended it off really solidly with season 3's second half. This is where the show takes the first half of the season and basically kind of combines all these small short stories into something cohesive and connected. And it does that in a really solid way where it doesn't feel like it's forced, it feels like it's a natural progression, and it ultimately did give us Robot Grogu, which is beautiful and cute and is amazing. But getting away from that, let's get into the characters in season 3, as they really do start to shine in this second half. We had some really great growth with Bo-Katan, which for the rest of this video I will call Boku, but hold the no Piku. And the same thing for our classic Mandalorian, albeit he is a more stagnant character in this season. He does show some sort of growth at the end of the season, which I will not spoil. Go watch it for yourselves. Now there's something I want to warn you about before you watch the show, or if you've already watched it, you know what I'm talking about, is that the show takes a very different feel than it has in season 1 and 2, whereas in season 3 it feels a lot more about the Mandalorian tribe together instead of the singular Mandalorian. This is honestly, in my opinion, a decent direction, and I do like how it's going this way, but I would like some more individual sections of just our original Mando, or of even Boku, but hold no Piku. It's where we get some of the guest appearances that this really starts to dwindle, and I just can't really enjoy it from this perspective. We had 3 guest appearances. We had Lizzo. Sorry, but you didn't do good. I feel like she didn't know what to do in this situation. I'm not really gonna blame her for this, because obviously she doesn't act, but it is a bit of a weird casting to have Lizzo in there, especially when she doesn't do the job. We also have the super popular Bowser, who very selectively is known as Jack Black, and he's great in anything he's in. He did a decent enough job here, so I'm not gonna diss him for it. It was a bit weird, but honestly, it was more enjoyable than cringeworthy or any of the other bad things that you could associate it with. And lastly, we have a guest appearance from a My Singing Monsters character. Personally, I've been getting back into the game myself, and I have to say, I really am happy that they added him in here. And finally, I have a complaint, and I just feel like if I'm gonna complain about it, there's no better time than now. So the complaint that in this show, there is no dismemberment, there's no gore, there's no blood, there's violence, but there is no impact, as in. I mean, the Lego Star Wars games have more gore than this show. Everything you can think of is censored in some way, and now that doesn't mean I want Bethesda to get in on this and make this another Doom game, but having visuals like blood do help to increase the tension and stakes of the situation. It makes that sense of impact. For example, people were getting stabbed in this show, in this season, and there was nothing. There was no blood. It was just falling and death. Now, obviously, I understand that they want younger audiences to enjoy Star Wars by not even having a pixel of blood on the screen, but when you're dealing with something as the death of someone important to the show, you want to have some sort of that impact, or else it just feels like a toy figure falling off your Lego set. But getting away from this weird ass topic, let's get to the conclusion, where I think that yeah, season 3 was disappointing, but it wasn't bad, because it had pacing issues that really destroyed the first half of the show for me. But the second half is where season 3 really does pick it up and makes the whole season feel whole. Season 3 overall is disappointing is because you can't take away the first half of the season, as that would just make the second half incomprehensible. It's like the equivalent of skipping 10 Naruto filler episodes in a row and finding out that one of the main character dies and you have to go back and rewatch it all because it didn't make any sense. I do think that the directors knew that the beginning of this season was going to be pretty mild, and they kind of just had to roll with it because there was nothing else they could have done. There was no other way for them to tell this story, even though they could have paced it a bit better. They could have done some other things maybe, but overall they still had to get this message across to get the second half across. And yet again, it's a good season. It's a good show. It's just this season in particular was not as good as season 1 and 2. The first half was just a video game. You run into the NPC that's gonna get you into a brawl out and teach you the tutorial. Then you get a fetch quest from a villager. You complete the fetch quest, then are told that your princess is in another castle and you have to go to that next castle to do it all over again. The second half of the season does the complete opposite of this. It says, hey, there is one goal. In the end, this is why I think season 3 is disappointing. It is because it has so much potential, but it was held back by that first half. If that first half was fixed, I think this season would be regarded as one of the better seasons, and that even if you were turned off by the first couple of episodes, stick with it. I think you will still enjoy it eventually. It just takes a bit of time to actually become good. So that's my take on season 3. If you disagree, then just tell me down below. Yeah, that's all. See ya.